Hey everyone, and welcome to the Deep Dive. So if you've graduated from a university here in Massachusetts, or maybe you're looking ahead as a student and you're thinking about international opportunities, could be more school, could be a job. You probably know that getting your, U.S. academic documents recognized overseas is, well, it's essential. Today we're diving into one specific part of that puzzle, something that, based on our sources, really trips a lot of people up. Our mission here is to unpack that critical first step, the one for getting your MA University diploma or transcripts ready for foreign use through this thing called an apostille. And what the sources show is this first bit happens right at the university. It's often where the confusion starts.
Absolutely, yeah. For anyone looking to use that MA degree or transcript overseas, the apostille is like the key to getting it legally accepted. But what our sources really flag right away is that you can't just, jump to sending things off to the state office in Boston. There's this really crucial step beforehand and understanding why it's there and how to handle it with the university. Well, that's often where things go sideways.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Where do we start with understanding why the university is so central here? What's the mechanism?
Well, the basic idea of an apostille, as the sources lay it out, is that the Massachusetts Secretary of the Commonwealth is authenticating a signature. Simple as that, really. That signature has to belong to either a Massachusetts public official, think like a town clerk, or a registered Massachusetts Notary Public. The Fate Office basically checks, yep, this signature is real, and this person holds the position they say they do.
Got it. Okay, so how does that connect to, like, a diploma or a transcript from, say, BU or UMass?
Exactly. So for an academic document, the state needs to authenticate a signature that's somehow linked to the university that issued it. This means the signature they verify needs to be either from a specific university official, usually the registrar, maybe someone else in records authorized for this, or it has to be the signature of a Massachusetts Notary Public who has notarized that official signature, or some kind of certification the university made about the document.
Ah, okay. So the big takeaway, the thing the sources are really hitting hard, is that the university has to prep the document first in a specific way.
Yeah.
That initial certification or notarization by the university, that's the absolute essential first link in the chain for the state to do its part.
Precisely. The state office in Boston can only verify signatures they recognize or have on file, or signatures from notaries they've commissioned. The university holds the official record, right? They're the source of truth. So they have the people who can officially connect your document back to the institution, either directly through their own official signature or indirectly through a notary they use.
And that brings us right to what the sources call the first hurdle, this university step. This seems to be where folks from, Harvard, MIT, BC, Northeastern, Tufts, all those MA schools, aiming for international stuff, often get, confused.
And the reason it's so confusing, according to the sources, is fascinating. It's because there's no single standard way universities in Massachusetts do this. Each school has its own process, its own specific forms they might require, sometimes different fees, and importantly, different timelines. It's this lack of uniformity that makes just guessing or sending a standard request so risky, it probably won't work.
That makes perfect sense. You can't just treat them all the same. So what's the general game plan then? How do the sources say you should approach your university to get this first step done right?
It really comes down to clear communication. You've got to contact the right office, usually the registrar or student records, and this is crucial. Don't just mail in your original diploma or ask for a standard transcript like you would for a U.S. grad school.
Right. The sources really hammer this point home. Use the right language. You have to explicitly say you need the documents prepared for apostille purposes or for international authentication. That's the magic phrase, basically.
Yeah, that signals you need something more than the usual. You need that specific official certification or notarization that the state requires for the apostille process.
Okay, specify the why. What about the what? Transcripts versus diplomas. Any difference there?
For official transcripts, the sources suggest it's usually a bit more straightforward. You order an official one, but the key is making sure that transcript itself, or maybe a letter that comes with it, is properly certified or notarized by the university contact. Diplomas, though, the sources describe those as trickier. Significantly so.
Trickier.
Well, universities apparently handle diploma verification for apostille in a few different ways. Some might issue a special certified copy that they create and attest to. Others might need you to utterly send your original diploma to them so they can make a verified copy and notarize that copy. And some schools might not touch the diploma copy at all, but instead issue a separate document, like a letter of degree verification, which confirms your degree, and that letter gets signed by the registrar and notarized.
Wow. Okay, so lesson learned.
Yeah.
You absolutely cannot assume how your specific university handles diplomas for this. You have to ask them point blank. Guessing is just asking for trouble and delays.
Exactly. And you need to dig into the details of how they do the notarization or certification.
Yeah.
Many of the bigger universities, especially around Boston or in the UMass system, might have an MA Notary Public right there in the registrar's office. That notary can handle the signature on the transcript or that verification letter for the diploma. The sources also mention asking if the registrar's own signature is maybe on file with the Secretary of State for direct verification, although they kind of hint this is less common for day-to-day student requests. The main thing is confirming. How does the university provide that verifiable signature or notarization the state needs?
And naturally, there's probably paperwork and fees involved at the university level, too.
Oh, absolutely. The sources confirm you should expect to fill out university-specific forms for this kind of special request. And yes, pay their fees for this service. These are completely separate from whatever the state charges later for the actual apostille stamp.
Okay, so to cut through the potential fog here and get it right the first time, what specific questions do the sources recommend asking the university registrar, like a checklist?
Yes, they provide a really practical checklist. First up, the big one. What is your university's exact procedure for preparing my, say, diploma or transcript or both so it can be apostilled by the Massachusetts Secretary of State? That question gets right to the heart of it.
Okay, nail down the procedure. What else?
Then who actually signs or notarizes the document or the certification? Is it the registrar? Is there an on-staff notary? Or is the registrar's signature directly verifiable by the state? This clarifies the authentication method they use.
Right, how the link is made. Makes sense.
Then super important for planning. What's the estimated processing time for this specific service from your office? Get a realistic time frame.
Good one. What else?
Also ask, are there specific university forms I need to fill out for this? And what's the university's fee for doing this preparation?
Fees, forms, got it. Anything else on that list?
Yeah, one last practical question, especially if you're thinking about using a service for the next part. Once it's prepared, can the document be mailed directly to me, or could you send it straight to a third-party apostille service like MassachusettsApostilleServices.com for me?
That checklist sounds invaluable.
Yeah.
Really cuts down the guesswork. And you mentioned timelines. The sources give a pretty serious warning about how long this university part can take, didn't they?
They really do. The sources are clear. Getting your document properly certified and notarized by the university. It could be just a few business days, or it could stretch out to several weeks.
Weeks? Seriously? Wow. That's a long time if you've got deadlines breathing down your neck.
It really is. It highlights where a major bottleneck can happen. The sources explain it depends on things like, the specific university's internal workflow, how busy they are, peak times like graduation or fall registration can slow things down, and also maybe whether you're a current student or an alum, sometimes digging up older records takes a bit longer.
So the crystal clear lesson from the sources, the thing they really want people to hear is, start this university part way earlier than you think you need to. Don't leave it to the last minute, especially with international deadlines.
Exactly. It's the piece of the puzzle that's totally reliant on the university's internal process and timeline. You can't rush them beyond their capacity.
Okay, so we know it can be tricky and take time.
Mm-hmm.
The sources also pinpoint some common mistakes people make at this university stage, right? What should listeners try to avoid?
Yeah, a few key pitfalls. A big one is just asking for a standard official transcript, like you'd send anywhere in the U.S., without saying it's for apostille. It just won't have the right kind of certification or notary statement the state needs. It'll get rejected later.
Makes sense. What else?
Another one they mention is just, mailing your original diploma to the university without talking to them first. Bad idea. Universities often have very specific, sometimes quite careful ways they handle original diplomas for this. You need their exact instructions before you put that valuable document in the mail.
Right. Don't just send it unsolicited.
Exactly. And the sources also make it clear, taking your diploma, making a copy, and running down to a local UPS store notary, that usually won't work for academic apostilles. The authentication really needs to originate from, or be directly linked to, the issuing university itself, not just any notary signing off on a copy.
Okay, so DIY notarization is generally out.
Typically, yes. for this purpose. And the last big mistake, as we just talked about, is just underestimating how long the university might take to process your request. That's a major reason people miss their deadlines overseas.
Okay, so let's imagine you've navigated all that. You followed the source's advice, you contacted your university, asked the right questions, filled out their forms, paid their fee, and you finally have the correctly certified and notarized document in hand. Or maybe you arranged for the university to send it somewhere specific. What's the next step? Where does it go from there?
Right. So at that point, the document is finally ready. It's prepared correctly for the second major phase. And that phase is submitting it to the Massachusetts Secretary of the Commonwealth's Public Records Division, their office in Boston, to get the actual state apostille certificate attached.
And this is where, according to our sources, a service like MassachusettsApostilleServices.com really comes into play. They're presented as someone who can take over after the university part is done, handle that state submission efficiently, and maybe even help guide you through that initial university maze too.
That's exactly how the sources position them. First off, they offer expert guidance right from the start. If you're feeling unsure about, say, what exact questions to ask your registrar or what kind of certification the state actually needs, they can apparently advise you based on their experience dealing with lots of MA universities and the Secretary of State's requirements.
Okay, so they can help you ask the right things initially.
Yes. And second, they offer a really convenient receiving option, which sounds like a big plus. It seems many students find it easier to just instruct their university, once the document's ready, to mail it directly to the MassachusettsApostilleServices.com office. Saves you a step. Their mailing address for receiving these documents is right there in the source. 1215 Main St., Unit 115, Tewksbury, MA 01876.
Oh, that direct mail option does sound helpful. Takes one handling step out of it for the student.
It seems like it. And once they receive the documents, whether from you or directly from the university, the sources highlight that they do a thorough pre-submission review. They check everything over carefully to make sure it meets all the state's requirements before they submit it. This helps catch any potential issues that might cause the state to reject it, which avoids even more delays.
Good catch. A pre-check is smart.
Yeah.
Then what?
Then they handle the actual submission to the MA Secretary of State's office in Boston. Because they do this routinely, their process is apparently optimized for speed. The sources indicate they can often get fast-track processing done at the state level. They even mention the possibility of expedited, maybe even same-day, apostille service once they have the correctly prepared document in their hands.
Same day for the state apostille. Wow, okay. That's incredibly fast compared to the potential weeks you might wait for the university part. That really speeds up the final leg of the journey.
Yeah, it seems the focus is on minimizing that final waiting time once the document is properly prepared by the university. The sources also note you can get consultations with them if you need more detailed help. You can actually visit their office in Tewksbury again. That's 1215 Main St., Unit 115, Tewksbury, MA 01876 for an in-person chat, or just call them at 978-424-4629.
So they don't just process fast, they offer guidance beforehand and consultation options. The sources also describe them as being both a safe and affordable solution for this whole thing.
Yeah, seems the idea is to provide a reliable, efficient path through what can be a confusing bureaucratic process, letting you focus more on your actual international plans.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap the two main stages here that our sources identify for getting your MA University documents apostilled. Stage 1. Absolutely critical. Get the document properly prepared by your university. That means specific certification, maybe notarization, and it requires clear communication with the registrar, understanding their unique process and timeline.
Right. That university step is non-negotiable and often the trickiest part. Stage 2 comes after that. Submitting the correctly prepared document to the Massachusetts Secretary of the Commonwealth in Boston for the actual apostille. Getting both steps right is essential.
And our sources suggest that when you're ready for that second stage, the state apostille, or if you just want expert help navigating those initial university requirements, MassachusettsApostilleServices.com is positioned as a dedicated resource. They help streamline it, make it faster, and offer guidance. You can check out their website for more details. That's https://massachusettsapostilleservice.com. Or you can give their team a call directly for advice at 978-424-4629. And their office, if you want to visit or mail documents, is conveniently located at 1215 Main St., Unit 115, Tewksbury, MA 01876.
And maybe just a final thought to leave you with, based on what we've discussed from the sources. Think about how crucial it really is to understand every single step in a process like this, especially those seemingly small initial ones at the university. Getting those wrong can completely derail your bigger international plans. Your Massachusetts education is valuable. It should open doors globally. Making sure you navigate this apostille process correctly is, well, it's the key to unlocking that potential overseas.
Absolutely. Well, thanks everyone for joining us for this deep dive.
Always great to talk through this stuff.